It's actually happening as a brand new report has dropped revealing some very interesting details surrounding Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s future in Toronto, and all signs are pointing to him signing an extension. We're going to break down these reports and discuss what this means going forward, as this report has Jays fans fired up. We're going to break that down, as well as discuss some interesting stats that have been revealed about the Jays' future that tells a lot about how this team will compete next season. Stay tuned for all that in this episode, folks. Before we get into it, quick reminder, if you're part of that 71% who aren't subscribed to the channel, it's the place to be for daily Jays content. Your guys' support has been unbelievable. And again, thank you guys very much. We're on the road and very close to 16,000 subscribers. And spring training, free agency is coming to a close here shortly. Spring training is getting nearly underway. And we are now 12 days away from Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s hard set date to when he's not going to sign an extension with the Jays. And a report dropped from Hector Gomez revealing some very interesting details. And I want to dive into a bunch of different things. And we're going to backtrack a little bit and think back to January 31st. Now, this was about a week ago. Toronto Blue Jays, Vladimir Guerrero. This is not the new report. We're going to dive into that in a little bit. But if you guys remember, last week, according to a report from Hector Gomez, the Jays and Guerrero are working towards a multi-year extension. However, Guerrero's self-imposed deadline is just more than 2 weeks away. We also have a couple of moves the Jays made as well here. But you can see this. This was late last night. Day 93 opposing Vladimir Guerrero Jr. until the Blue Jays sign him to an extension. Hector Gomez said the wait will soon be over. And man, oh man, did this blow up on Jays Twitter. And there's a reason for it. When it comes to signings, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Is obviously going to be a huge part of this. When it comes to signings for Hector Gomez, whether that be free agency rumors, the Jays signing Pete Alonso. We know he came out recently and said the Jays have an offer for Pete Alonso at 3 years and Alex Bregman at 6 years. But whether you want to believe Hector Gomez or not about the signings and free agents, that is up to you. But when it comes to extensions with, certain players and just his record in general for players signing extensions is very good, right? He was on the Juan Soto stuff. He was on, I believe, the Teoscar Hernandez stuff. And now he's saying the wait will soon be over for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And this had Jays fans in a frenzy because now it seems like Vladdy is inching closer and closer to an extension with the Toronto Blue Jays. And also, we've been hearing just some rumblings, some rumors as of late about the Jays and the progress they've been making, whether that be Vladdy going on some radio shows and saying, the Jays are actively negotiating it. Ben Nicholson-Smith a couple months ago, at the start of free agency, saying the Jays are going to try to get it done. And then a couple weeks ago, saying not that they're, progressing heavily, but that they're really trying to get it done. And as free agency has began to be very, very quiet surrounding not only Vladdy, but other free agents as well, whether that be Pete Alonso, Alex Bregman, those guys have yet to sign. And we've seen some reports that, Vladdy won't sign until some of the free agents get signed as well. And Vladdy won't extend his contract till then. The Jays still have yet to sign Pete Alonso or Alex Bregman, but they did sign Max Scherzer, whose deal became official, which we'll dive into as well here. But this is a very encouraging sign, and I cannot imagine Hector Gomez would tweet that the wait will soon be over a week and a half before his self-imposed deadline unless he was extremely confident and he heard from sources that this was going to happen. Now, I expect we'll hear from some, Vladdy, Ben Nicholson-Smith of the world over the next few days as spring training and as the, catchers and pitchers start to report here surrounding Vladdy. But again, he was the one who said last week that talks between the Blue Jays and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. are progressing satisfactorily regarding a possible contract extension. The Jays are getting closer to what Vladdy Jr. is looking for. This was last week, and then he comes out a week later and says that the wait will soon be over. It is a very encouraging sign, and it's finally happening to where, A, the deadline is inching closer and closer, and to B, that it seems like the Jays are starting to meet their number. We kind of know that the Jays don't really have a choice here with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. They need to extend Vladimir Guerrero Jr. desperately. There's absolutely no doubt about it. And there's been some rumblings as of late. Vladdy dropped an article as well, revealing some interesting details. So as you start to kind of think about what this team, how they would look if Vladimir Guerrero Jr. leaves, you obviously don't even want to begin to think about that because Vladimir Guerrero Jr. specifically is the most important player on this team. There's absolutely no doubt about it, right? You can argue that, maybe Bichette before could have been, an argument for that. At this point of their careers, it is no doubt that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is the best and most important player, but not only this year, but in the future as well. There is no doubt about it. Now, as you start to look at what an extension could look like, we know that he wants a deal between $450 and $550 million. The initial report that the Jays offered was only for about I think it was about, 360-ish million dollars. That was the amount that the Jays had offered him. And when it looks at the actual contract, a report from Ken Rosenthal's drop revealing some very interesting details. The Toronto Blue Jays luxury tax payroll by Fangraphs estimation stands at $273 million, which raises the question, could the Jays sign a prominent free agent, which we'll dive into in future videos, of course. But when you're talking about how Vladdy affects the CBT and the luxury tax threshold, extend Vladdy or extend first baseman Vladdy and still remain under the highest luxury tax threshold? The answer is they can. Guerrero's already locked in for 2025 at $28.5 million. The Jays could sign him to an extension beginning in 2026, and even if they included a signing bonus, it would not count towards their 2025 payroll. When the Red Sox signed third baseman Rafael Devers, it didn't count towards the payroll because it begins the year after. So they can sign this big deal and it not count towards the payroll till 2026, which is obviously a huge sign as well. Again, you had this drop just yesterday, and then you have this Hector Gomez stuff drop. All signs are pointing to an extension getting done with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Probably, my guess would be 450, 475, maybe with some bonuses and incentives, and he deserves every penny of it coming off of a absolutely fantastic season. Obviously, we know how good he was in 2021. It's going to be interesting to see. But let me know down below. Obviously, you want Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to, extend with the Jays, but what number would you feel comfortable giving Vladdy? Would it be 450? Would it be 500? Let me know down below. And something else I want to bring up here is Toronto Blue Jays player projected WRC plus. They are looking extremely good. A lot of these advanced analytics, if you're watching the videos here, my videos have showed like a lot of these advanced analytics, whether it be WRC plus, whether it be Zips, all these ones are heavily favoring a lot of these Toronto Blue Jays players. Vladdy projected at 156. Then you have Anthony Santander. You have Alejandro Kirk. So many of their players are projected to be above average. You can, in theory, according to these projections, plot out an entire 9 hitters that are legitimate threats and are above league average, which is very rare. It actually never happens in the actual MLB. And of course, some of these guys will underperform, whether that be Dalton Varsho or some of the names here like Davis Schneider, maybe a bit of a generous WRC plus projection. Will Wagner, the advanced analytics love him. He doesn't hit for power, but he always makes contact, doesn't strike out too much, is a high contact profile player. Things are looking very good for the Toronto Blue Jays. And if they had one more piece of this, whether it be Bregman, whether it be Alonso, things are going to start to look extremely good, not only for this Toronto Blue Jays lineup, but for their pitching staff as well. And speaking about the pitching staff, the Jays have officially finalized Max Scherzer, and they have DFA'd righty Michael Peterson, which most people didn't even know was on the 40-man. I heard of him, but he never really made a big, obviously didn't make a big impact with the team. And there is also escalators in the 15.5. There are incentives in the deal. If he's a Cy Young finalist, if he pitches in the ALCS, the LCS, all these different things, right? So, or the ALCS, sorry, and the LDS. Let me know down below what your thoughts are. A ton of things flying around the Toronto Blue Jays, articles from Ken Rosenthal. Things are really starting to pick up, and we're going to keep you up to date with all the latest news, so make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys for watching. Cheers.